they can go to school, have education, participate fully in their education, and not be negatively impacted by this directive.
The National Council of Canadian Muslims and the Canadian Civil Liberties Association were at the Montreal courthouse Tuesday requesting a temporary suspension on the Quebec government's directive for schools to ban prayer rooms. They've launched a legal challenge against the decree and want a stay in proceedings on the directive until the case can be heard.
To our knowledge, there isn't any other province or jurisdiction in Canada that has such a large sweeping ban that has restricted the ability of students to practice, basic religious freedom.
Quebec Education Minister Bernard Drainville barred schools in late April from making space available to students for prayer.
Having a ban on prayer fundamentally limits the rights not only of Quebec children, but also places children in a place where they're being surveilled and policed for their identities. This has really negative impacts on children. They feel like they have to hide when they go to school. They're worried about being punished for being who they are.
Lawyers for the groups argued in court that the student plaintiff at the center of their challenge says the experience of not having a space to pray has been stressful, that they feel degraded, excluded from society, and feel the government is trying to remove their Muslim faith.
There's no problem before this directive was issued. Schools were able to accommodate maybe a handful of students that needed a quiet space that was used for studying, or just students that needed a quiet space. And some students were using that to pray. And this was not causing a problem or a disruption, and schools were able to accommodate these students. But after this decree was issued, schools have prevented students from praying anywhere on school premises during the school day.
Drainville has said the concept of prayer rooms runs counter to Quebec's policy of secularism.
The Minister Bernard Drainville came out and said that it's a fundamental right to pray and you can't ban prayer in school, but then went out and told kids that they should do so in a way that's quiet. So basically, in Quebec, according to the government, it's okay to pray insofar as you do so within the parameters deemed acceptable by the Ministry of Education.
The Quebec government lawyers argued that even though the directive creates a constraint, it doesn't prevent students from exercising their rights. They say the decree is in place to keep schools as neutral as possible. Quebec's education ministry declined to comment, saying it's because the matter is before the courts. In Montreal, Alyssia Rubertucci, City News.